Δόμος. Ναι. Καλησπέρα σας. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ που μας τιμάτε με την παρουσία σας. Η σημερινή έναρξη του συνεδρίου μας με αφορμή το κλείσιμο ενός έργου Interreg για την αειφόρο ανάπτυξη με έμφαση στην ηλιακή ενέργεια ξεκινάει αμέσως, χωρίς καθυστέρηση, με σύνδεση με τα Ηνωμένα Έθνη και οι χαιρετισμοί θα ακολουθήσουν στην πορεία και στη ροή. Λοιπόν, έχουμε αξιότιμα κύριε Περιφερειάρχη, κύριοι Δήμαρχοι, αξιότιμα μέλη του Συμβουλίου Διοίκησης του Πανεπιστημίου Ιωαννίνων, μέλη της ομάδας έργου του προγράμματος Interreg SOLIS, κύριοι εκπρόσωπε του Ινστιτούτου Εκπαιδευτικής Πολιτικής, κυρία Περιφερειακή Διευθύντρια Εκπαίδευσης Ηπείρου, κυρία Διευθύντρια Πρωτοβάθμιας Εκπαίδευσης Ιωαννίνων, αγαπητές και αγαπητοί σύνεδροι και φίλοι, σας καλωσορίζουμε ξεκινώντας
starting our round table about the environment and sustainability with our main objectives supported by our actions. We start with the United Nations, with the doctor of the University of Ioannina, Mrs. Aravella Zachariou, who studied here and did her doctorate thesis here, and she achieved since 2017 on the 20th of April to stand out worldwide as a Greek and Cypriot in issues of sustainability in the educational sector. She was elected in the United Nations after voting among 55 countries and 14 international organizations as the new president of the Committee for the Education and Sustainable Development of the Economic Committee for the Europe of the United Nations. This was a great success for herself and for Cyprus, and as a Greek as well. The specific committee, comprising 65 countries and 18 international organizations, is highly significant since through this many international political decisions are taken. We hope that everything will be fruitful. Mrs. Arabella Zachariou, who is the President of the Committee on Education for Sustainable Development of the United Nations European Commission for Europe, will help organizing a cooperation scheme collaborating with the United Nations. Let's hope that Ioannina will become a hub for education and sustainable development with the support of the United Nations. Mrs. Zachariou, the floor is yours. Dear friends, dear Katerina, thank you so much for your kind and honoring and moving introductory words. I'm really sorry that I couldn't make it and be with you today because I've just arrived from abroad. But still, it wouldn't be possible not to accept your kind invitation for today's discussion upon such a hot and highly significant and the current issue. First of all, because everything is very new with regard to international decisions regarding sustainable development and education. But the most important of all, allow me to say, is the fact that it has to do with Ioannina, which I consider as my second homeland. I have always loved Ioannina. I'm always at the disposal of everyone at the University of Ioannina, which I regard as my second home. And I always do my best to contribute to the efforts of the University of Ioannina in issues of environment and sustainability. In brief, let me share my screen. When my dearest Katerina asked me to make a brief reference to how the energy efficiency issue can be connected with sustainability. So I thought that it is very, very important within the context of this event to focus on my presentation on two main axes. The part of international policies with regard to energy efficiency and the part of education and the significance of the review of the framework for sustainability in education, taking into account the need for creating building facilities that will be energy efficient. And the second part, which I believe has a lot to do with the content of the project that you have worked on all this time, is a new project, PEDIA project, that is funded by the European Union in Cyprus with 7.5 million euros, aiming at establishing schools that are energy efficient. I will be brief and concise. First, I would like to point out some main issues with regard to high-quality education. And here we have the main domains. So what determines what is efficient and effective education for sustainable development is the assessment and inclusion in the general planning of schools, the background of each and every student, that is the culture, the language, the religion, the environment, which has to do mainly not only with the school classroom, but with the school as a society of learning and not just a passive anonymous building where teachers and students are for the production of knowledge. Number three, the content of learning. Concerning the syllabuses and curricula, and of course the learning process with the pedagogical approaches and the learning results. Now, with regard to what has to do with energy efficiency, I would like to point out that the decade we are going through in the European Union, in UNESCO, in the United Nations, which are the three main committees, with first of all the United Nations and UNESCO, leading educational issues for sustainable development, and then the European Union, which this decade has got dynamically into this sector of sustainable development and education, focusing on energy efficiency. All these focus on reviewing essential issues and topics that concern the effectiveness and efficiency of education for the sustainable development. So, and although until recently the discussion and the main documents focused on the need for reviewing the content of learning, where pedagogical approaches or promoting enhanced educational means through the review of educational programs, vocational training oriented to education for sustainable development. In this new decade we are going through, we have moved to another level of discussion, which derives from research results showing us that we should have a more holistic approach with regard to sustainability, and all through the general evaluation and assessment that in order for some things to give us productive and high quality results, we have to set up a new basis. So we have four very important texts that we can see here the main theoretical and political context of the countries with regard to education and sustainable development. And I don't refer only to the part of the school education, but I'll refer to the part of the typical, the atypical education, etc. So if we look at the world agenda for the 17 objectives for sustainable development, objective 4 has to do with the high quality education. It talks about the need for upgrading of the infrastructure and the educational facilities in order to secure energy efficient environments. In the EU Green Team and on the Axis 16, Axis 4 and then Axis 16, there is special reference on the need for the upgrading of school building facilities so that they render energy efficient and sustainable. Also, focus is placed on the support from the European Union through funding for this purpose, so that there are investments towards this direction. Also, we have the new UNESCO text for 2030 talking about the need, the necessity to move to the upgrading of building facilities and interconnect them with the educational content so that we have reformed school environments. And I come to the new text of policy of the UNESCO 2030 that has recently been adopted in October here in Cyprus in a summit conference where the three issues that were discussed were the part concerning sustainable infrastructure, sustainable tourism, and sustainable education. The specific text that binds all the countries and becomes the roadmap for the promotion of other regional policies, such as the Mediterranean Strategy for Education and Sustainable Development, or the effort of the European Union these days through the text with the conclusions referring to the need for the transition to a new action program in the European Union concerning environmental sustainability. Priority is given to the implementation of holistic approaches. In essence, the countries recognize on a political level, and the governments, by adopting the specific strategic framework, emphasize that in order to be able to promote substantially a new culture regarding issues of sustainability in education, starting with the school education, it's not enough just to deal with the content of the education, of the curricula, the school curricula, but if we don't have holistic approaches that will start from the way of organization, of operation, of interconnection, of synergies, collaboration, and mainly reviews and high quality upgrading of building facilities so that they constitute learning tools for sustainable education. I apologize for this slide being in English, but I wanted to highlight how important this transition to energy efficient school buildings is. This comes from a recent evaluation about the course of implementation of education for sustainable development in countries of UN assistance in United Nations that took into account all 53 countries, and these are the indicators concerning the 5 dimensions of the holistic approach, which are the organization, administration of schools, the various projects, the vocational development, the content, the teaching units, and the building facilities, where we learn. So at the level of the implementation of the holistic approach in the dimension that has to do with the energy efficiency and sustainable orientation of schools, the countries had made very small steps of progress. So in this new framework of actions in the strategy of EAA in UNEC with regard to the energy efficiency of school buildings and sustainability, we see that the school is not treated as just a plain building or as a technical project without features. Based on the holistic school approach, the school is approached holistically and globally, not as a structure for carrying out the educational mission, but as lively and dynamic learning spaces and pedagogical interaction. The energy upgrading of the school buildings was planned in combination with it is interconnected with all the other dimensions that concern the high quality education. So within, to sum up, with the international policies for education in sustainable development, the energy upgrading of schools requires schools that will operate as pedagogical instruments, and whereas the energy upgrading of schools connects into the school environment with advanced teaching methods, with the new content of education that allow the school curriculum to be more effectively adjusted to issues of the environment and sustainability. Also, through the energy efficient school buildings, it is aimed to conquer the skills and capacities and respect the environment. The schools, through this holistic approach, should become the main areas for change. It is worth saying that the specific texts of policies are documented through a thorough analysis, expansive analysis of the literature, particularly regarding the new axis of the energy building efficiency. Indicatively, I would like to say that many studies interconnect the relation of the interior environment of school classes with diseases, disorders, and learning abilities. Environmental factors such as the temperature, the lighting, the quality of the air substantially affect the conditions of comfort in the interior of school classrooms and contribute to a healthy school environment. Students in school classrooms with better illumination have better school performances. And we see that the conditions of temperature comfort of school classrooms contribute to the development of a creative and positive climate, whereas a school environment that is upgraded with regard to energy significantly increases the self-esteem of students, contributes to their well-being, and contributes ultimately to the better acquisition of knowledge and their creativity. Allow me to refer to another project, the project PDIA, which is one of the 4 projects that was funded by the European Union for the period 2019 to 2026 with regard to the reinforcement of countries so that they can upgrade their school building facilities. So the PDIA project is a unique project for Cyprus within the context of Horizon program for 7.5 million euros invested in school buildings. The aim is a promotion of a holistic approach for the quality upgrading of school buildings. This specific project proposes a holistic approach for the quality upgrading of school buildings with almost a zero energy consumption. And what is important is that these specific upgradings have to do with a holistic and overall consideration of energy efficiency that is not is based on many components. It provides for changes in the entire school building edifice with a green environment, with special shading systems, with replacement of windows, the masonry, solar panels, air conditioning systems, etc. Also, the specific project has a particularity because through the instruments that have been created, they constitute the main driver for the further expansion of the specific planning. What I wanted to point out is that the challenges for the specific projects are the ones we can see here. As in many countries, the same in Greece, so that we don't blame only Greek and Cypriot reality. These are problems in many member states of the EU. That is, schools with low energy efficiency, schools that don't meet comfort conditions, buildings that have high operational costs for energy needs. The pandemics showed the insufficiency of these school buildings to cope with the learning processes. Because, for example, during the pandemic, when in Cyprus we tried to examine during summer months to have the operation of schools, this wasn't possible due to the fact that the schools themselves had very high temperatures. In addition, with regard to main elements concerning energy upgrading of school buildings and the learning process as a whole, is the fact that through interventions, it was found that the buildings themselves will become learning instruments, learning tools, since they will be connected with issues such as the environment, the green, etc. Also, planning of environmental educational programs based on the changes on every school building, creation of educational material for the bioclimatic planning and the renewable energy resources. Also, the renewal of the planning of programs for vocational training at schools, and of course, programs that concern STEM capacities, utilizing the school building as a pilot for such implementations. we had the first call, and we see here how many schools applied. As you see, they come from the various levels of education. What is very, very important is the tool, a multimodal tool that was used for the assessment of the energy upgrading of efficiency at school buildings that have to do with factors such as building features, the social impact, energy features, etc. There were assessments carried out between July and October based on the criteria that were implemented. I forgot to tell you that based on these criteria and the evaluation that were carried out through the technical committees, we selected 25 schools. In September, we had the informing of these schools. We sent the evaluation reports. We had the energy auditing taking place. And in early October, we had the first call for a tender in these 25 schools. The main remarks that were made is that the users showed a lot of willingness to participate in the project, acknowledging and recognizing the significance of this project. Also, the infrastructure needs emerged that have to be strengthened. There are a lot of problems in schools that have to do with the roofs, with the static condition. What is for sure is that the fragmentary solutions that had been applied until recently are not sufficient solutions. Also, the social aspects of the schools are closely interconnected with the quality and infrastructure of the school buildings. There is also lack of directions for the appropriate management and surveillance of schools with regard to ventilation, to heat, cooling, shading, etc. And so far, any interventions that have been done with regard to the improvement of the energy condition came from initiatives of parents' committees or from the action of isolated bodies. Here we have the time schedule. We are in 2022, the first call for tender for the project. We hope that we will soon have the first 5 pilot schools that will be schools of almost zero energy consumption, and they will be interconnected with the entire project for the school operation. Something also that is very, very important is that within the context of the recovery of the RRF, the Recovery and Resilience Fund, there is a focus on the green orientation of buildings. Cyprus submitted application and received 20 million extra euros for the establishment of solar panels in all school buildings. We believe that this, together with a specific project, can make us be optimistic. For example, the effort made for a more systematic and promoted and comprehensive approach for energy efficiency and ultimately sustainability, not of schools, but creating the sustainability culture about school buildings as bodies of experiential and learning regarding environmental issues. I apologize if I have took more of your time. I would like to thank you for your hospitality. I'm sure that the results of this meeting will be highly fruitful and productive. Dear Katerina, I'm giving the floor back to you. I wish all the best to the proceedings of this two-day meeting. Thank you very much.
We thank you. So we saw how the United Nations supports Cyprus and how Cyprus is changing their situation about sustainable development systems. Arabella will also help Epirus, I suppose, and our region governor is in the best position to know about it. I would like to say that the panel here and the speakers are recorded. There's a video recording, so if somebody has an objection, please, you can express your objections now. Interreg requires it. Good afternoon. What we heard from Mrs. Zachariou was very useful. Dear officials, dear mayors, everybody is concerned with these issues. Greece has an advantage regarding sun, wind, and water. The sun is very strong for the production of energy, but so far, as an old electrical and mechanical engineer, I follow things, but I think that we are in a very preliminary stage, because when I concluded my studies in '79, they used to sell some electrical systems for heating houses, and so it was not useful. Then we started to produce some solar systems, and then we saw that there was not, they had a very long return time. The Greek National Organization for Electricity started to make some projects in Mesochora, a huge project, and Sikia, along the Acheloos River. Everybody talked about a deviation of the river. When I went there, I realized that it was a crime, really. And so then we had other intermediary policies that they talked about environmental conservation without thinking that we consume oil, natural gas. It was a cheap energy that it did not use problems. But then we reopened the coal mines of Ptolemaida for the production of power. I went to Ptolemaida and I saw many engineers there, and I met there. And they created wind generators at sea. When we create a wind generator on an island, we overreact, but we don't understand that islands, for islands, these are the only sources of energy. So when we started irrigation projects, which were under the public services for irrigation reasons, then they were under the municipalities, they didn't deal with them, and then they gave them to the region. I asked them to give me the electricity bills, and I saw that 40% of all plants was no work power, because nobody corrected the some mathematical factors. So agriculturers paid a lot. After that, with technical advisors, we thought, okay, we must have solar systems because our irrigation needs are for certain months. And there, the DIE, that is the power organization, is divided in two parts. The DIE is the one having the network. And it is a surprise that in the year 2019, when I dealt with selling the electricity columns, but columns, no, and they told me that they are imported from Finland. And I was terrified. And it was very difficult to convince them that these columns are produced in our country too. They used to take some small ones, so the whole network of the medium tension remained unmaintained with various problems. These columns break, and they do not know that the problem is lack of maintenance. Since they couldn't maintain the old, they did not create a new one. So they say that I want to set up photovoltaics in Filatai, in places for where we have developed studies. We do not have a network to store the energy produced. They don't tell it to the private citizens, where the projects they come for approvals. Private citizens know where we have the gaps in the network. And you see some unbelievable things. But if the state would like to be serious, should think, what is the most important thing? The primary sectors. All plants should produce energy and should have the mechanisms and the batteries to store the energy and to consume it when they need it. For the first time, the Ministry for the Environment started to think about it. The second strange thing, I will tell you about school buildings, but first I'll talk in general about public buildings. They shouldn't be energy consuming. So we must make studies for the energy upgrading of these buildings. We have heat pumps, geothermal energy, and it is the only building that we have changed all bulbs. We switch off heating, and when we started to implement this study, we saw that we lacked a building license, so we couldn't legalize it. Those who are before 2011 could not be legalized. When we asked how much we must pay for this legalization, they asked us a huge amount. So I discovered that all public buildings, when they get legalized, they do not pay the fee for non-being legalized. So far, we didn't know that. They come to the office, I don't know from which municipality, to make a programmatic contract to help in some studies. And the mayor said, we don't have a license, and the amounts are huge. I told him that it is 500 to 1,000, and we must pay for the fees. But I told him, no fees apply for the public sector. The same, we did the same thing for the academy, where we created the pump, which is also for educational reasons. So it is an Interreg project, so that to teach students how to produce energy from what nature gives us without further consumption. So school buildings without licenses, the musical school Georgiou Stavru was about to be closed because they didn't have a license for that. And we helped them to get this license. Things can be easier. And let's come to the traditional settlements. Is it prohibited in the court and everywhere? All traditional settlements must be given one of the extensions they have in order to create an energy community. It would be simple, but they don't do it. And you think those who are in charge of the administration of the country, politicians, who are politicians and the administrative personnel, should not see only the present, but also look to the future. But nobody thinks about that. This is a big problem. In Ioannina, if we start placing photovoltaic panels, they will start to find problems. Sports projects, most of them do not have licenses because they used to build them, but they did not consider necessary to have a license, and they left them to their fate. I told you about STOEV, and the other day, one of the competent staff, so I saw a project, and then I read the study, and I saw that the two things were completely divergent. We must work, and in the new programming period 21-27, most projects are about upgrading, energy upgrading of buildings, of public buildings and private buildings. And because of the climate change is connected with this energy upgrading. But all of us present here, maybe you listen to these things for the first time. What you did in the schools, we must start from the first class of the primary school. And I see that my grandchildren tell me every day what they learn at school. And this is why I say that the state, the government must start thinking what we really need. I grasped this opportunity to tell you something. The other day, nobody observed that the International Council for Competitiveness and Research was met here in Epirus. The special concession for competitiveness and the Council of the Government of Japan. So people on the top of their sectors. So I was, I felt, and the second day they went to the technological park. Companies that, American companies that come here in Greece, Deloitte. When they say, so we want to become real estate accountants. We don't have anything to do with accounting matters. We have 1,000 people working in Thessaloniki, and they'll come to Ioannina and Patras. We come to you, something which we do not know, because your area has wonderful personnel, human resource potential. So I want to find this personnel, mathematicians, physicians, electronic engineers, in general, in all sciences, in all fields, we have very good personnel who are usually unemployed. When P and I celebrated the 5 years in Ioannina, somebody had a restaurant, and many people many people from the university worked in this restaurant. And P&I, Back Secret, Team Viewer, to give you an idea, Team Viewer, Manchester United wrote on their shirt, Team Viewer, just for you to understand how important they are. Because when Mr. Pierakakis came here and he told us that he wanted to do something here, he said, I want to create a data center, but we must find a lot where we won't have energy consumption. All these things are connected, and everything is connected with the energy consumption. If what they asked us, if we will have geothermal energy, if we will have photovoltaic panels on the roof, and if it will have all the other systems that information technologists need. This is what makes energy upgrading. So we must work, and this work must start right from the kindergarten. Energy and respect for nature must be part of the kindergarten curricula. This is from where we must start. We are obliged to create energy communities. We get introduced to new things, but Greek legislation needs change. At Pogoni, you had wonderful chestnuts. The same applies to Vasilikos. And when we went to do them, they told us, and we had many people in the villages, but nobody stays in the villages. Give land to new people, give new technologies to these people, and in order to repopulate the areas, to create again the chestnut cultivations and the other traditional cultivations, and connect it with free electricity. Think about an animal farmer on the mountains to have a photovoltaic panel, to carry it on wheels and to produce quality milk, and but nobody thinks about that. Photovoltaics, portable photovoltaics that could be connected to high technology animal farming equipment. When I went to Blue Eye, and I told them to Corfu people, quality of water and 2 kilometers. You shouldn't have to try to create dams or how to find water in the area. There are no borders today. Today, there is potential for everything, and do it. A Turkish company bought it with loans, and they don't pay these loans. We would pay these loans. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you my views, some thoughts about energy and energy and education. If we think all together how to change, the result will be much better.
Μπορούμε να βάλουμε το PowerPoint. Ευχαριστώ. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ, κύριε
Thank you very much, Regional Governor of Epirus, for all this you have presented us with. And if I could keep one point of what you told us, I would keep this message about the need for synergies and cooperations. We dared this within the context of Interreg. Two small municipalities, the mayor of Preveza, with great willingness to change things in Preveza, a department of preschool education to make things change from a very young age, the preschool age, and the municipality of Phoenix trying to upgrade their school buildings and other infrastructure from an energy point of view. I'm afraid these are not the slides of my presentation. These slides are from the presentation of Mr. Efthimiou. So, until the slides of my presentation are found, I will give the floor to the mayor of Preveza, Mr. Nikolaos Georgakos. to speak before me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Regional Governor, Mayor, academic professors, students, ladies and gentlemen. Why Preveza participating in this energy program? Very simply because in 2018, early 2019, we completed the plan for urban sustainable mobility. Why? Because it had to be done so that we are in the position to put things in order and come with studies and projects. And the first large project with the region for the establishment of all lights, LED lighting. Why? Because I reassure you that 65% of the applications that we receive digitally from our citizens is security and lighting. So within 2 years, I have received more than 5,000 applications, and 65% were applications with regard to good, appropriate lighting. And it is a project that is still going on, and very soon it will be completed. Another large project what consumption do we have in public buildings so that this electrical program comes to lead us to rendering the energy consuming buildings to energy efficient buildings. We have statistical data knowing the level of energy consumption, and so by priority we will make the best of this program and these projects. That's why we should be cautious to integrate some public school buildings for their energy upgrading. Net metering, yes, for sure. And we had the first project for the reconstruction of a school building with solar panels. But what the regional governor said, how will they be interconnected with the public power corporation? This is an issue. I think this will be resolved so that we will be able to include more school buildings. We signed a contract so that our children will see a completely different school building that will be based on the energy upgrading, and how none of our citizens will pay the electrical power with the help, with the use of these solar panels. Another big project that came through Interreg during a period of crisis. We have to try to make the best of different projects. So Interreg was here to help us. We were ready, a photovoltaic park. This photovoltaic park, through the project of about $500,000, comes to cover a treatment so that this money, these funds, through the program will help us save 95% of the treated public power. With the operation of the photovoltaic station and the good practice of net metering, on one hand, we will be able to fully cover the energy needs of this photovoltaic station, in the area of Louros, a municipal unit around the city of Preves. And on the other hand, particularly nowadays that we're going through this energy crisis, we will achieve saving energy with the maximum economic saving for our citizens. But it's not just the 500,000 euros only for the photovoltaics. We also have the upgrading of the town hall. About 300,000 euros go to changing energy settings so that what we receive digitally through consumptions, with the completion of the proceedings, we will see the optimal efficiency in relation to how much money were invested and in how many years we will depreciate this money through the energy consumption. Now, for us as a new municipal authority, because I have been a mayor for the last 3 years. Before I was a freelance engineer. So we want to save money. That was our first objective. Now, the use of renewable energy resources is not just a trend, but it is a world necessity, a world European strategy that is imperative to cope with the energy and climate crisis. Our municipality makes every possible effort towards this direction. The promotion of good, best energy practices, along with culture for the saving and raising the awareness of citizens about energy efficiency, is our top priority. And I repeat this again and again. Education is that will change the attitude of our citizens. And at this point, I would like to sincerely thank Mrs. Plakiti, Professor Plakiti, because we have been cooperating and we have proven that through such projects and programs, we can achieve a lot. Starting from where? Starting from the kindergarten. Thank you very much.
Given that the first mayor from the part of Greece spoke, now we'll have the mayor on the part of Albania, because the municipalities corrected the initial studies and made enormous savings. So if the municipality had 900,000 they achieved in creating the photovoltaic unit with half the money, and the rest is used by them to upgrade schools and other public buildings. Congratulations on both of them. Mr. Kahrimanis, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, the municipality of Finik is one of the beneficiaries of the Interreg IPA CBC program, Greece Albania 2014-2020, for 4 projects. 3 of them are under Axis 2 of the program, development of local economy, rhythm, and the other under Axis 1, promotion of the environment, of sustainable transportation and public infrastructure. The SOLIS projects named Cross-Border Cooperation for Energy Efficiency using Solar Energy, is our first participation under Axis 1 of the program, which focuses on the promotion of environment, public transportation, and public infrastructure, protection of the environment, 1B, and adjustment to climate changes, prevention of risks, common actions for the protection of the environment, promotion of sustainable use of natural resources, of efficiency of natural resources, of renewable sources of energy, and an economy of a low emission of CO2, promotion for tackling specific dangers, and promotion of resilience in dangers, and preparedness. With the object of the augmentation of sustainable development, we have restoration and installation of photovoltaic panels in a public buildings, which will later have a multifunctional form and will contribute to Albania has an important potential for renewable sources of energy, which are an important source of energy. It is the long-term objective for the implementation of the national strategy 2011 augmentation, increase of safety for the population, protection of the environment. The objectives of energy, which are also the municipalities of Finiki, it is ensure energy supply through an efficient network for distribution, clean sources of energy, and increase of competitiveness, differentiation of sources from where energy is produced, protection of the environment. The main means for energy for the energy policy is the harmonization of the environmental framework, the protection of consumers, the increase of energy efficiency, and the increase of the use of RES. The project at the municipality of Finiki is a direct contribution because it is also educates teachers, teaching personnel, and the new generation about these RES and the notion of energy efficiency. The recent energy crisis, because of the war in Ukraine, made the production of energy through differentiation very important. Thus, the Albanian government and the municipality of Finik try to encourage public and private companies to invest in renewable sources of energy. Recently, for the cost for each family that installs solar panels, we informed about the cost and we urged them to submit a proposal. We have the approval under the law 2004. We are creating the law framework for energy efficiency and the promotion of renewable sources of energy. Albania commits itself to obtain the objective of 38% of the annual produced energy, but it will be from the renewable sources of energy. The approval in February 2017 of the law for the production of energy from renewable sources according to Directive 28 of the European Union, created the right environment for important private investments in photovoltaic stations. The procedure was competitive, based on good criteria and technical work. We have 12 projects with 23 megawatt of installed power, and the price is 71.2 euro per megawatt hour. We have also, there is a promotion to the self-consumption installation of photovoltaic panels on roofs with a productive potential of 1,000 kilowatt. And I would like to tell to Mr. Kachrimanis, the governor of the region of Epirus, who was very clear in his presentation, in contrast with the bureaucratic realities. Mr. Kachrimanis talked about the rare source of the blue eye, which is very important also from the energy point of view. In this river, there are 3 hydraulic stations. 2 of them were completed during the Hoxha government, and a private one, some years ago. Mr. Kachrimanis, in fact, told us that there was no interest on the Greek part, so Turkish people came here to buy these stations ready from the Siemens with a modern investment, and they came they insured this money, and we had a development last summer. It is a Turkish company within the Greek minority of Albania, and they bought these electric plants, and starting from the lake of the Blue Eye, they positioned the Turkish flag also there. After our intervention, this was avoided, this was stopped, and we will not have the Turkish flag in the lake of the Blue Eye. In the meantime, the water, as Mr. Kachrimanis said, there is interest from Italy, yes, from Italy, to take the water from this very big and important source. The conditions in the municipality of FINIC with the electrical installations and the old electrical networks make the supply very difficult. And another important thing, and which I observed as a mayor over the last years, is that there is a huge demand for photovoltaic parks and wind parks in the municipality of Phoenix or FINIC. Thank you.
Και μετά από τις υποδομές και τα...
After listening to all these interesting things about the infrastructure and the political issues, let us move to the soft educational issues that don't have a lot of money, but they have a great impact. Who are we? We are a research group seated in the Department of Preschool Education. In essence, we open up education to the physical sciences, both in the typical and atypical forms. What have we achieved so far?
Στο live streaming ακούγεται.
Γιατί περιβάλλον και αειφορία?
Why environment and sustainability? But we couldn't do anything else when we work with such small age groups to which we cannot convey physics, chemistry in oversimplification. It's not possible to go to kindergartens oversimplifying the educational language, because in this way you change the language, and changing the language means changing the knowledge. So we need to build up new material for the small children of preschool age. And that's why you see the material that we have outside this hall. So our material steps on the 17 objectives for sustainable development. You can see objective 7 is very important, and we focus on other objectives as well, because we can't talk about education without talking about the environment within which this education takes place. So what do? We have created a methodological tool for this opening up. How could we move? Using which scientific approach? We integrated the social policy. In other words, let me explain to you. We want to prepare something, an educational material. We wanted to create an action with your students. So what kind of activities are involved? Municipalities, regions, United Nations, policies. We've heard about these, local authorities, parents. So we are not in a glass cloud. We are not in the controlled environment of a closed academic environment. We are outdoors, and the school is a social institution, so it is affected by everything else. So we have to investigate what systems of activities are involved in what we want to create. What kind of contradictions are there? Attitudes, bureaucracies, prohibitive laws, science education, what kind of outcome and results do we want to produce? And we use the word praxis, not practice, because when we do practice, we always combine it with theory. It's not that practice is separate from theory, and every time we try to expand the school child's learning and the teacher's learning to move a step further. That is, it's not the scientific result our objective, but it is a progress from the previous stage to a next stage, to have continuous steps and circles of education, and thus changing the science education aiming at sustainability. This is our methodological tool. Already we have been working on the part that concerns us in the regional excellence. Regional excellence, money coming from the region to the university, have given work to about 30 new scientists for every project. Researchers, we professors don't take anything, but we gain equipment. This is very, very important. Either heavy equipment or lighter equipment. In our sector, we are 9 labs and we receive equipment, and we have people working in these labs. As you can see here, we investigate the rocks. We had a recent TV emission on the TV channel Earth 3, and in Earthflix platform in the development access, you can get informed about that. What do? We change everything in the study of the lake. We do this interdisciplinary tasks. So we may have the environmental science subject dealing with the flora, the fauna, specific species, animal and plant species, but also we carry out a lot of multidisciplinary actions. For example, here, based on the marble, the aim is that our students will learn anything about the marble. We start from the best marble that is used in churches, in the altar. What kind of marble is used? So we have from many scientific sectors people and experts coming and determine the marble in the altar in the Durahanis temple. Also, we go to another place where we learn things about the limestone. And the more informed students create small games that are attractive to small children, so that the directions are given through mobile phones. Because the youth uses mobile phones in their everyday life a lot, and then we go to the castle. We rest a little bit. We rest around the wonderful marble statues around the lake. These are made of the Pendelis marble, all of them, apart from one. With QR codes, with cell phones, the students learn about the statues, the sculptures, the sculpture, and at the same time they learn about the flora and fauna existing around this monument. And we move on to the castle. You cannot imagine on the bottom right picture, you see the enthusiasm of our students, because instead of having a conventional tour around the castle, the monument, You can see the Ottoman steam baths, hot baths, the various tourist attractions existing there, the museums, and the tomb of Ali Pasha. They started trying to find treasures about specific marbles that have been placed over the Christian and then the Muslim. You know what happens with the temples and so on and so forth. So with this game between the place that has the culture, the environment, it has everything, and the school setting, and the academic setting of the hard sciences in the university, we try to change the education in physical sciences, or how we approach the lake, or we try to make a touristic product, if you like, where the visitor doesn't just admire, but when coming to Ioannina, they can learn things through applications that will be highly attractive. When our students created the geocaching, and without testing it, trying it, citizens went and found our geocrypts and found the marbles and sent us feedback. So do you understand? Just once we publish something, these social media are so powerful that they touch a lot tourists and visitors of Ioannina. So let us make Ioannina a scientific touristic place. This is a wish of mine, an aspiration, and that's our aim. What had we done before? We created through the European Union and the Erasmus funding a very robust, attractive portfolio for our students. We created this in collaboration with 7 member states, EU member states, with the involvement of energy management systems, with systems, with various studies, etc. There we created a part of a postgraduate study, and we have here the former president of BET, Mr. Marangos, along with the medical department and the biological science department. We created a postgraduate study program, unique in Greece, Sciences of the Environment and Education for Sustainability. We have 100 candidacies, so this is very attractive. It is for 20 individuals every 2 years. So we have to expand this postgraduate study program because it is very successful. At the same time, on a global level, in international organizations, we try to convey these socio-cultural approaches when we teach STEM. For this reason, we have the Finland, this highly distinguished expert, Nurio Engström, who became honoris causa. Another effort on a world level is what we are running right now at the same time with Interreg between Asia and Europe, about the 21st century skills, in collaboration with 6 Asian universities and 3 European universities, the University of Ioannina, Luxembourg, and Lithuania. We try to set up programs of pedagogical programs in collaboration with the Asian universities. Already the group of our lab went to India. The response was wonderful, and the Indian ambassador came here to Ioannina and told us that he wants to set up a seat here in Ioannina for the exchange of students and professors between Greece and India, and mainly on medical issues. we could say that on a world level, there are four large categories of skills of the 21st century are seen here. Life and career skills, learning and innovative skills, integration of global awareness, and information and media technology skills. And these were the Aristotelian principles and objectives. So these are not new things. Aristotle first mentioned these. And many of these have been integrated by the Institute of Educational Policy, and already the two main presidents who are here today apply these in their schools. SOLIS project, a group that had a consultant from the Institutional Vocational Training, a school principal, a candidate doctor. We all together sat and set up together this material for preschool children. This is a difficult task. So we developed an armamentarium, we developed a special app, and we trained the teachers. We had the planning group, the graphists, the app developers, and on the other hand, we had the teachers, the students of two different age groups, and how we will all work together and how these will be piloted, the transformation, and then formulating the work sheets to create the digital applications, a lot of challenges, a lot of risks. And what's the objective and what results we're aiming at? We want to have issues of energy efficiency dealt with in the classroom. We want preschool children from this young age to have a viewpoint on environmental and energy issues. So the small child can bring a change to their family and to their household. So we have SOLIS, the cross-border cooperation for energy efficiency using solar energy. We have all the material and the results at your disposal. Teachers embraced this project. There were some training sessions taking place here in Previs, and we will also go to Phoenix. But they have these intra-school seminars and sessions, and this is very positive for us, and probably they will use it to the various experimental clubs. Of course, it is available free of charge with Interreg resources. The thing is that if we manage to raise the awareness of small children, this will be very, very substantial. And since we are talking about small children and everything we do about them, I would like to say to the president of our department to say a few words. So I'd like to give him the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katerina. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Governor, mayors, members of the new board of the university. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to congratulate you on this project. It is an honor of this Department of Preschool Education. But I see that you do excellent work. You produce knowledge for teachers and for pupils. It is an honor for our department we in the primary school and the preschool education use games. When we were in the Olympic Games and we made a representation of the Olympic Games, kids who participated in the flame transportation from Olympia to other places. So they were very curious. But when they learned that this is made through the concentration, the convergence of the sun, through the sun, they tried to set fire in school papers. So Mrs. Plakitsi makes good use of this project, and as the mayor said and the governors, it is from these ages that we must start the change. Thank you. Now we'll have a brief break, a coffee break, and then we'll
Καλησπέρα, ο κύριος Σταμούλης είναι εδώ.
Εδώ είμαι, ναι.
Ωραία, μισό λεπτό λιγάκι. Μπορείτε λίγο να ανοίξετε κάμερα να σας δούμε.
Βέβαια.
Ωραία. Περιμένετε λιγάκι εκεί. Ωραία, μισό λεπτό. Να σας φτιάξουμε λιγάκι. Θα έχετε και παρουσίαση.
Ναι, θα ήθελα να κάνω share.
Μπορείτε να κάνετε μια δοκιμή τώρα να
Ναι.
δούμε αν είμαστε OK.
It is a test.
Ωραία, από ό,τι βλέπω μια χαρά. Θα το κάνετε full screen, OK. Θα πάει full screen.
Πάει, αλλά θα προτιμούσα να το πάω έτσι. Δεν έχει κάτι περισσότερο να κάνω, δηλαδή αν δεν υπάρχει πρόβλημα να το αφήσω με αυτή την προβολή.
Ναι. Ωραία, μισό λεπτό μετά να φτιάξω λίγο το συγγνώμη λιγάκι.
Καλά, δεν φαίνεται.
Εντάξει, εγώ θα το μαζέψω λίγο στο πλάνο μου. Συγγνώμη λίγο. Θα το παίξετε έτσι, εντάξει, για να το φτιάξω σε αυτό το...
Ναι.
Ωραία, μισό λεπτό. Ωραία, εντάξει είμαστε κύριε Σταμούλη.
Έγινε, ευχαριστώ.
Να είστε καλά. Απλά να είστε έτοιμος, με ακούτε?
Ναι, σας ακούω, ναι.
Να είστε έτοιμος γιατί θα ξεκινήσουμε με εσάς. Θα σας δώσω το λόγο, θα είστε ο πρώτος μόλις επιστρέψουμε, εντάξει? Ωραία, ευχαριστούμε. Κύριε Σταμούλη, με ακούτε?
You hear me, Mr. Stamoulis? Yes?
Αφήστε το έτσι με το screen share. Εγώ έχω το πρόσωπό σας, δηλαδή μην πειράζετε κάτι. Όταν ξεκινήσουμε, έχω και το πρόσωπό σας, έχω και την παρουσίαση. Είμαστε OK, εντάξει?
Ωραία, έγινε, σας ευχαριστώ.
Να είστε καλά.
Τώρα τι δουλειά έχει το τέλος The History and Archaeology of Epirus and Economic Driver for Development, δεν ξέρω.
Παρακαλώ τη Γραμματεία να δώσει έναν φάκελο στον κύριο Σταυράκο στο πάνελ. Καλώς ορίσατε για το δεύτερο μέρος της απόψινής.
Welcome to the second session. I would like to read you the message sent by the Deputy Minister for Energy and Environment, Mr. Amiras. He couldn't be here. He had to be at Louros, at the river Louros. He says that the climate challenge is the biggest one for humanity. We need to change attitudes towards the environment. The education of kids is the most important step to change the attitude towards the environment and the climate. The state, the universities, the region, the municipalities should cooperate in order to achieve this goal. Congratulations to the preschool education department for organizing this meeting. And now I would like to tell you about the excellent cooperation we have with the Institute for Education Policy. They are next to us for educational issues, and we have had a long-term cooperation in curricula, in applications, and in software, even before the year 2000. Now, two postdoc students are with us. Its president has a long experience in experimental schools. The panel is Ephimis Stamoulis, Counselor A of the Institute of Educational Policy and head of the Department of Educational Innovation and Inclusive Education. We'll be connected with Mr. Stamoulis. Mr. Stamoulis, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mrs. Plakitsi, for the invitation. Our Institute of Educational Policy. I'm sorry for not being here with you, physically with you, and the following days, but remotely, you know that I will be always by you. It is a body that supports the Ministry for Education in questions about the primary and secondary education and the transition from the secondary education to the university. Technical support, design and application of the educational policy are among its objects. Now, we'll talk about the goals of sustainable development. We must adopt policies and actions for implementing projects and mobilizing people on the national and international level. The education about sustainability creates an educational framework. The teachers should guide students in order to acquire skills in order to seek for sustainability through democratic procedures. We try to change the curricula, so a pillar of education for sustainability is the publication of the project Environment for the Sustainable Development for Primary Education, Secondary Education and University. As we can see, an important field of this project is the energy question, the ecologic and energy footprint, appliances, transportation, cooling, heating, etc. The results in this issue is to raise the awareness of kids, and we see that on the first level is that they must acquire the basic knowledge for the school and for the home to learn about appliances that consume a lot of energy. On the second level, to identify the problem and provide their own solution to energy efficiency and saving. And on a third level is to make a research into the question. And the fourth level is the development of action and to adopt positive attitudes and behaviors with regard to energy saving and energy efficiency. A second pillar regarding energy efficiency and saving is the Skills Lab. And their aim is to increase mild, soft skills, life skills, and technology and science skills. The aim of these labs is to combine the cognitive field of the curricula with the development of key skills. One such, for a skill to be developed, is to look at its parameters, that is, the skills that a student must have or a citizen in order to do something. So skills is one part of a competency, of a capability, and this is what we want to develop from the kindergarten up to the high school and beyond. So we have 4 different categories of skills. And these are 21st century skills, life skills, technology and science skills, and then we have mind skills. All these skills that we want to cultivate among students has a theoretical and a practical part. This is to be used in their everyday life. In order to do that, we must deal with subjects from the cognitive field of their curriculum. So we created thematic units which are connected with the indicators, for example, environment, safety, modern technology. So we connect all these skills with these fields. In here, we can see the thematic units from where we draw the topics. All this is to develop skills. So this is strictly connected with the curricula. So we see that the environment and the care about the environment and the raising of awareness is an important pillar of the thematic units from where we draw themes. Ecology questions, natural heritage is a basic thematic unit, for example, from where we draw this thematic field for the cultivation of skills. I would like to stress that the cultivation of skills in the Skills Lab from the preschool education up to the senior high school can be horizontally connected with school activities that will have to do with the environment, or even in the category of the so-called good life, the educators can draw subjects and orientate their action towards the environment and sustainable development. For example, for sustainable nutrition, transportation with bicycles, or road transport or road safety may be connected with these skills. Then we have another thematic unit, I care about the environment. Then we have another unit which is called I'm interested and I act, and then I create and innovate. The connection with Interreg and this project is immediate and very strict. Transportation of know-how, connection with games, training of citizens, pilot energy programs, trans-border cooperation. But how these skills can be connected with this program? Let us see which ones among the key skills can be implemented and cultivated through such projects as the SOLIS. 21st century skills can be all be put to good use. We also have technology skills, technological literacy, or robotics. Scientific information technology thought. And then we have mind skills, strategic thought, oblique thought, routine thought, critical thought is cultivated through experiments, harmonization of information, and its use for solving everyday problems through simulation programs that interpret procedures and correlate natural and anthropogenic processes. Communication, understanding and use of tools and other media, sufficiency in the use of expression and systematic use of the terminology, cooperation, teamwork, and brainstorming. And creativity, development of creativity through the creation of models and modification of parameters that may influence configuration, etc. So we see the strict relationship between the units of the lab with the toolkit that has been developed under this project. So, raising the environmental awareness may contribute to the achievement of the sustainability goals. These labs is an important factor that can incorporate the toolkit as a whole and be integrated in the primary and secondary school. I would like to wish you success in the works of your Congress. Thank you very much for your attention.
Έδωσε το στίγμα ο εκπρόσωπος του Προέδρου του Ινστιτούτου Εκπαιδευτικής Πολιτικής και τώρα...
You gave us the message, and now I would like to ask the group of SOLIS to tell us a few words about this educational mission of SOLIS. It's not easy at all. If you wanted to be honest with the scientific mission and plan something that is politically correct for the specific age groups of children, we realize that this is a very difficult task because, as I said before, we don't have the language of science available to use when addressed to this small age children.
Της νέας τεχνολογίας ξαναχτυπάει από ό,τι φαίνεται. Τώρα
Good evening. Let us cope with a slight technological problem we have. Together with Themis, who presented before his work, the other three members of the group of the team are Giorgos Efthimiou, Giorgos Koukoulis, with both with masters and candidate doctors, Mr. Stamoulis and myself. Our position, that is joining together practice with theory, linking all together all forms, all trends, and reform them into something practical, something tangible, something effective, was very, very hard. Thus, we started, and along with another George, so we have three Georges, Giorgos Giuseppas, who is an engineer and undertook the computing part of this mission. We work together to plan and develop the content of the educational toolkit. What was our aim? First of all, our objective was to understand and promote the significance of energy efficiency. In other words, we take something and we want to make it efficient. In 2004, I used to have a house built, and the plumber told me, and I told the plumber, let's install a solar panel. And he told me, what do you want? It is very expensive. Why should you do that? But he had no idea that some years later, the cost of the petrol liter would be 130 cents. That is over tripled compared to the price of 2004-2005. So this requires a thorough, a profound change of the people's attitude, of the young citizens, the attitude, starting from the kindergarten and not from the late grades of high school. That's why we're talking about the changes in everyday life attitude. We need to teach small children by using these tools, these interactive tools and worksheets, with regard to how to understand that I can save money from energy and how I can achieve this. So we should integrate preschool age children and primary school children, both in Greece and in Albania. Different cultures, different content, And all this should not be just physics. We should have STEM. We should have all physical sciences involved, from biology to language, arts, very important, the arts, because with arts, we can drastically affect small children, and at the same time to have the change of the children's culture, so that they can convey these messages from the classroom to their houses, to their families, to tell their father, for example, don't use this old-fashioned light bulb, but use this energy-efficient new LED lamp. And it may be more expensive to buy, but it is energy efficient. So we save energy and we save money on the long term. This is very, very important. And when the kilowatt from 0.09 that cost when we started with this program now has reached 30 cents, now you understand how economical it is and how much energy and money is saved. How have we organized the content of this toolkit? Every school, at least in the region of Epirus, in Preveza and Ioannina, will get such a bag that contains two types of material, one for the first age group, 4 to 8 years old and 9 to 12 years old. We have this educational manual. We have these worksheets, educational toolkit, which, as you can see here, the worksheets which we have applied in schools, both George and I, myself, by an Albanian student who came this year to our class, and I asked her to fill in the worksheet in Albanian. Thus, the educational material reaches every school, and every teacher from the first primary school grade to high school grades and in kindergarten as well. The teacher can use this material to teach, to change the culture so that the students can learn to save energy. The material suggested are everyday practices, and we use all kinds of methods available: multimodal texts, crosswords, pictures, experimental constructions that we have prepared, we have created. We have taken the pictures, we made measurements, and all experiments and all constructions have been created both in the classroom and in the university labs in order to make sure that everything works. Good evening. Moving on from what Mrs. Plakidou said about how we developed this toolkit, we were based on the various sociocultural theories dealing with expansive learning. Expansive learning that are implemented in all worksheets has some basic steps. The concerning, the analysis, the standardization, the application of the model, and the evaluation. The expansion lies on the fact that we move from the smaller age group to the higher age group. And we hope, we want this to go on in the secondary education as well. I will give you an example of this expansive learning cycle. So we start with the first step. We make our students concerned about whether the light hits and its role on the color of the various objects. And we move on to analysis. We carry out measurements of temperatures. And we carry out temperature measurements on various colored papers, ranging from white to black. Once we realize that the black color develops higher temperature degrees, then we standardized this. We create and we went to the modeling, and here STEM is introduced. We constructed two paper houses, one made of white and one of black paper, and we want to see on which house, on the black or the white house, we have higher temperature. After the modeling stage, we move to the application of the model. Of course, we cannot build real houses, but we use these models by using the dark colored surface of the water heater, for example. And the last stage is the evaluation and acceptance. So we ask for children to give us their own examples from their everyday life, and we try to make them compared older and newer habits and how these have contributed to changing the whole attitude. The development of the toolkit is a systemic approach of educational procedures. We took into account the structure of the material, the development of the scientific correctness of the content. We considered the cognitive development of children. Very little difficulty was found in the small children's age group. So small children can perceive much more easily. Also, we took into account the socio-cultural framework of the children, the identification of the content with the European strategies, the readiness of the teachers to use the toolkit. Here we see the historicity in the socio-cultural theories and how we can change the so far existing teaching strategies, because many teachers don't want to change their attitude, and of course the means that are available for the implementation. In the theoretical part, we develop the physical science concepts such as what energy is, the forms of energy, how energy is produced, the sources of energy, the renewable energy resources, temperature, heat, the difference between temperature and heat, the good and bad conductors of heat, the energy converters, the Sankey diagrams, the greenhouse effect, the acid rain, consumption and saving, and also we listen to ideas that the students have. Per age group, we see here the different concepts of physical sciences developed through the worksheets, and the worksheets have exercises, drills regarding STEM, experiments, conceptual maps, crosswords, cryptolexes, role model games, matching games, linguistic drills, multi-modal texts, etc. Here we see an example of a Sankey diagram. We ask the students to think about this. You start cycling in the night and you need to turn on the light of the bicycle. You need to place in the arrows the following concepts to show the energy flow diagram and the conversions of the energy, the conversions to different forms, the electrical that becomes thermal energy, the thermal that becomes lighting energy, chemical energy, and mobile energy, and what they should think about the loss of energy going through these different conversion stages. Here we see the announcements of the school in the classroom. On the announcement board, one of the communication means that is used, and through praxis, as Mrs. Plakidis said, we make constructions, we carry out activities where the children make discoveries about the energy efficiency, simulations of environmental and physical phenomena, etc. This is the toolkit. I will show you some examples. Here we see the different forms of energy resources and how this change. We have the energy resources coming from the sun, from the soil, such as the nuclear fuels, the fossil fuels, etc. Here we have a model by Mr. Nikos, who used solar panels to make a small light bulb lighten. Here we have linguistic drills. The children have to combine different forms of energy to create sentences. Here they have to find which are the energy resources and the way to generate electrical power and what applications we have in everyday life. Here we have the Shanke example I mentioned before. The good and bad conductors of heat. They have to fill in some gaps. They are asked to explain why, for example, the handle of the pans are wooden or plastic. Here we have experiments about the measurements of how easily ice cubes thaw. Here we see some worksheets having to do with a bioclimatic house related to the position of the sun, the ventilation system of every house. Here we create an electric water heater, and we make measurements. Here we give instructions to children about how to construct these and to make the measurements. On the first picture, we see an electric catamaran that used with a solar panel. In the second picture, measurements in black and white color paper and how temperature varies according to the different color of the object. And the third picture shows an electric oven. Many different kind of drills and exercises. I don't want to tire you. We have the energy tags, labels. We have different games. And here we have the board game that Mr. Efthimiou will present us with. Good evening.
Together with the team, we created a board game which helps students understand what is energy efficiency. The game is rather simple. We start from two plants of power production from coal, and players cooperatively try to extend the city around them, around these plants. But they must have in mind how much consumption of energy the city needs, how much energy is produced by the coal plants, and what are the CO2 emissions. Little by little, since the concentration of CO2 increases with the size of the city, they must shift to renewable sources of energy. So we have wind parks, solar panels, even nuclear plants. So by getting away from the production of power from coal and shifting to RIS, we make our city more sustainable with less emissions of CO2. So the energy that is produced to be consumed, and the winner is the one who obtains a balance between production, consumption of energy, and CO2 emissions. Since we have renewable sources of energy, we can see what will be the weather conditions within a turn. If we do not have wind, we will have less production of energy from wind parks. When the weather is cloudy, we have less power production from solar parks. Each player has one panel and can play alone or two players against two other players in cooperation or in competition. That's all. If you need more information about the board game, we are fully available after the presentation to give more explanations.
Ωραία. Τώρα σιγά σιγά θα αλλάξουμε σκηνικό.
Now we'll change the setting and we'll give emphasis on what will be the future of university. The administration of the new counselors is Mrs. Batistatou, Mr. Stavros Nikolopoulos, now Vice Rector of our university, Mr. Zographos from the Department of Mathematics, Mr. Stavratis, me and Mr. Karimanis from the Economic Department, more or less. Most of the departments are represented in this board of administration. And before being elected, we had a cooperation in creating a new master's about environment and education for sustainability with the Department of Information Technologies. 9 people who helped a lot in creating this master's program. Yannis Leonardos, Kasimou, Gotsis, Gabrilakis, environmentalist, Vasilis Koutras, Kiki Katia from the biological. 9 people. We have worked a lot all these years, and you are the third turn of people, the third batch of people who have this possibility. This postgraduate course, this master's course, is mainly based on research. If you see its curriculum and its subjects, research is the main part. That is, specialization or lectures are minimized. So here you can see us to have this master and in a meeting with the American universities to discuss with the Americans how we can expand it even more. And this is why the members of the board will continue with One Health management of natural resources, and many other subjects, and how history and archaeology of Epirus can be a lever for development. Let us see some openings to the future. Thank you very much for this invitation. It is a great opportunity for me to be here today. I welcome all students, older ones and the new ones to this master's degree. I'll explain what is One Health and how it is connected with this master's degree. One Health, which in Greek is translated as One Health, is an interdisciplinary approach in the application of programs and policies and research in a framework that many factors contribute to the benefit of public health. On the international level, it is about the connection of people, plants, animals, and the environment around them. These are the three things, the three pillars, and they must be in balance. So One Health is a recent notion, and it is an innovative sector. So this is about the information of the community about the health of people, the animals and plants, and the environment. We must have food safety, deal with resilience to microbes and viruses, and very quickly I'll try and develop each one of these things. It is something innovative, and it is a big part of this master's degree. The first interest axis is the environment and in the impact of people on the planet. Mrs. Plakitsi told about that. The only thing to add is that this climate change will influence, will have an impact on the diseases, the human diseases and the animal diseases. The second basic is the interaction between the health of people and animals. 6 out of 10 of human diseases are transmitted from the animals. We have pandemics because of these animal diseases, and this development may be attributed to climate change, overpopulation, mobility of the population, change in the production of foods, and the exploitation, animal farming. And this is why, and especially because of the COVID-19 pandemic, this became a very important sector. Another thing is resistance to antibiotics. It is because of overprescription and of the modern way of life. Then there is a connection between the resistance of animals to antibiotics and resistance of people. There is an interconnection. Even more, the same antibiotics are used both in animals, plants, and people. Now we'll start. So it is not improbable that there will be a transmission of diseases through the plants. And the last axis is human health, physical and mental. We have a unit about the microbiome, human microbiome, animal microbiome, and how they are interconnected and how these influence our food and our health as a consequence. We are not living in a bubble. There is a symbiosis with all these microorganisms, and our gut microbiome is 1.5 kilos, just to give you an idea. This is important for homeostasis, for the regulation of metabolism, for regulating the immune system, and so on and so forth. We live in an environment, we get around, we eat animal products and plant products, and there's interaction of our microbiomes.
Όπως είναι λοιπόν φυσικό, οι περιβαλλοντικές συνθήκες και η κλιματική αλλαγή επηρεάζουν το ανθρώπινο μικροβίωμα, διαταράσσοντας τις
environmental conditions and our food influence our microbiome, and this is connected with the onset of neurological, of skin problems, and of various forms of cancer, especially that of the colon. We can change our microbiome, yes, by changing our food, our nutrition with prebiotics and many other ways. To conclude with, the aim of One Health is the harmonization and the harmonic coexistence of humans, animals, and plants. And it is important of the cooperation of the countries. And we saw how fast this COVID-19 pandemic was transmitted from one country to the other. So we must apply policies to protect public health and to raise the awareness of people about the change of their lifestyle and of their food, nutritional patterns. And just one example, 4 organizations met for a congress to enhance all these ideas and interactions. Silent pandemic of the resistance to antibiotics. Regarding the education of new scientists, we have the introduction of relative units, sections on all levels of third-degree education. We have many different cognitive fields that we could all include, all departments should include units about raising the awareness of students for the environment, climate change, and public health. The education of students in the principles of One Health will contribute to research and to the mobilization of citizens starting from our area. To conclude with, most of these things was a collective effort with 3 of our students, with some of our students, 6 students, 3rd year in the medicine school, in the 1st semester last year in the pathological anatomy. We talked about One Health and the microbiome. We made a review and it was presented in the annual Congress of medical students. They were enthusiastic about this action, and they advanced their knowledge, their scientific knowledge, and their career. And their paper was published in a general periodical which contributed to the information of the general public. All this is also taught in the interdisciplinary masters. It is very important to talk, to cooperate, to communicate, so as to have to raise the awareness of students and of the general public and of citizens. Thank you very much for your attention.
Όπου θέλεις, όπου αγαπάς.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Battistatou. Now we will give the floor to the Vice Rector, Professor of Electrical Engineering, Mr. Stavros Nikolopoulos. Digital Convergence and Sustainability. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board of administration of our university, president of the Department of Preschool Education, deputy regional governor, director of the primary education sector, members of the SOLIS project group, dear friends. Allow me, under my hat as a member of the board of our university and as the vice rector, to focus on issues that actions that have been implemented in our university during the last 4 years, and not only. So I will talk to you about the university in the region of Epirus, the digital reform and sustainability, research and digital actions of our university, digital infrastructure in and out of the university, digital entrepreneurship in the region of Epirus, and mainly what we should invent for the future. Allow me to present you with a definition of digital reform. What digital reform is and which are the pillars? I believe the pillars of digital reform are the following 4. In order for a digital reform to be successful, we need to have a regulatory environment and a public administration. We need to have digital maturity of businesses. Enterprises and the private sector should be informed and trained with digital technologies. Number 3, modern digital skills of our students. And number 4, national infrastructure in the state and the region. Sustainability, or sustainable development, or viable development. It is a model of development that allows today's generations to satisfy their needs without jeopardizing the potential of the future generations to satisfy their own needs. I believe that sustainability focuses on the triptych environment, society, and economy. University of Ioannina, 1964, the School of Philosophy. It started from here with the branch at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. 1970, our Department of Philosophy becomes independent. 2022, many years later, the university has 11 schools, 11 faculties, 23 departments, postgraduate programs, and about 36,000 students. education, training, and research at the University of Ioannina. It is very important to say a few words about what this educational institute actually does. It has already been said by previous speakers that we have curricula, postgraduate studies, and for these, we need to say that in our university, we have a quality reassurance system. This is very, very important because the degree of our graduate students is certified complying with the European standards. And this is highly significant indeed. Published research. We have a wide range of coverage in the various scientific sectors. I have this pie here. Please note here. Let us have a look at this pie. Since 2012, since the economic recession, the research at the university had an ascending course. This is very, very important. There was a dwindling in 2012, but after that, it has an ascending course. This means that in our university, there are scientists worldwide distinguished, funded research and teaching. During the last 4 years, there have been 2,000 new jobs and 10 million salaries, not of professors, but of external associates. And this is very, very important. 6 institutes. Institute of Digital Innovation, the university focuses on the Environmental and Sustainable Development Institute and all the others. What does the university offer to Epirus? International prestige, teaching and administrative material, high-level research and innovation, certified and contemporary pre-graduate and postgraduate studies, graduates with high technological training level, strong academic faculties and modern digital infrastructure, entrepreneurial innovation and know-how dissemination, a full educational and economic ecosystem, and during the last year, attraction of companies of high know-how in the region. What else does the university, our university, offer in Epirus? Concentration of students from the whole Greek territory. This year, as we can see in this slide, the number of the new students that chose to be educated in our university, 3,412 students. I don't know if you are aware of the fact that the University of Ioannina approximately offers 136 million euros to the local community, the local society. How can this be linked with sustainability? This means that there is funding and the local society can invest in forms of sustainability. 2018-2022, what have we done during this period? Digital infrastructure. Through excellence, our university right now has a powerful calculating engine that can meet the needs of our university for the next 10 years. What other benefits there are? 65 members of teaching and administrative members are participating from 10 different faculties and 24 labs and departments. We have 50 and more new researchers that are trained with on high technology, and 10 engineers, and we have created an innovation ecosystem. Who are the beneficiaries? The existing enterprises that integrate innovation and improve competitiveness, and the spin-offs that are established by researchers, young graduates from our university. This infrastructure that is called the ONI encourages the innovative entrepreneurship. They reinforce new sciences towards startups establishment. Also helps us save energy and contribute to sustainable development. Energy upgrading. Another large program of 3,500,000 euros carried out right now. It contributes to the energy upgrading, to making the best of energy resource efficiency, energy saving. We have 6 building facilities with upgraded building envelope that helped reducing the heat losses by 60%. We have interventions in heating and cooling facilities, interventions in the panels, and establishment of a photovoltaic park, a solar park. Also, through this program, we contribute to the sustainable mobility, and we replace the existing conventional transportation infrastructure with the corresponding electric infrastructure. And also we have the installation, the establishment of electrical loading station. I think this gives the stigma of the new era. Unification and upgrading of the operating processes. The budget is 1,500,000 euros. This program is just starting today. Digitization of all existing data of our university, archives, data, etc., electronic communication, and universal informing. A visitor can enter our website and have a single electronic communication, also integrated economic management systems. IFESTOS project, 1,200,000 euros, upgrading of the internal networks of our institutes. Besides the road access that a city needs, also digital networks are needed in order to have growth and development in an region, and we do achieve this. Also, we have recycling of electrical and electronic devices. The university has come in agreement with a recycling company of devices, which is a certified body of the European Recycling Organization, and within 5 years we managed to remove about 77 tons of electric and electronic devices from the University of Ioannina. This had another consequence, and I would like to congratulate at this point the pedagogical department, where our colleague, Mr. Gavrilakis, set up a group of students starting some recycling courses, and this group has been activated and has carried out a great number of actions. This is really encouraging for the young generations. We have the linear model of production that we don't believe in. We suggest the circular production model, where the value of products, materials and resources will remain in the economy as long as possible, and the waste production will be limited to the minimum. Now we come to the technological sector, and now between the university and the digital reform, we have the technological part and the region of Epirus involved. The scientific and technological part was established in 1999 by the University of Ioannina in the region of Epirus. It was funded by the regional program of Epirus, and the investment cost was about 5 million euros. What is very important is that it became a portal for the involvement of young scientists in entrepreneurship. In this park, we have young scientists who initiate their business activity and with startups, and then they move to facilities and premises of the city. This is the strategy of the technological park. Startups are established, and then they will have their transition to infrastructure of the city. Right now, we have a great number of companies participating in the technological park, such as the P&I company, TeamViewer, Deloitte, which indeed have changed the structure of technology in Epirus, and more specifically in the city of Ioannina. Of course, students from our technological departments immediately after graduating find jobs. Unemployment in our graduate is almost zero. Recently, the technological part was visited by a delegates from Berlin, who showed great interest in operating in the city of Ioannina. From their tour, they expressed intense interest in investing in the city of Ioannina, but they were concerned about the digital infrastructure of the city, and we should draw our attention to this. The region of Epirus set up the Park of Technology and Research, High Technology and Research, comprising, this is a complex, a technopolis, comprising 5 buildings of research and technology and 1 multiple-use building that can host 1,500 employees. This is the station that will serve the multinational companies from the technological park to the city. Some pictures from the Park of High Technology and Research. And the municipality of Ioannina, the local government should follow the regional government. The citizen should be served with an information platform about their transportation. There is a need of an online consultation platform, monitoring system of garbage vehicles, etc. What is the existing condition and the digital transition framework today concerning the digital transform in Epirus? Infrastructure of research in Epirus. University of Ioannina. We also have the Institute of Biomedical Research, the Institute of Transportation and Telecommunications, the Center of Hydrobiological Research, Metsovian Center of Multidisciplinary Research, etc. I have tried to note down some positive and negative aspects where exactly we are today in Epirus, and more specifically in Ioannina. There is lack of building facilities and infrastructure meeting the needs and high demands of companies. There is lack of telecommunication infrastructure of ultra high velocities. These are the two main weaknesses that and problems that have to be overcome. On the other hand, there are high-level trained human resources. The city of Ioannina has a strategic geographical position. The research in Epirus is carried out almost exclusively by the University of Ioannina, but this could be expanded to other institutes as well, and companies such as P&I&T Viewer that have been set up in the city of Ioannina, attracting young people. The region of Epirus is the third region of the country in investing in research and development. It funds the research and innovation, and I would like to say that during the period 2007 to 2013, the University of Ioannina, ITE, the Technological Park, and 19 enterprises participated in 49 research projects of overall budget about 8,500,000 euros. The operational program Epirus 2014 to 2020 has enhanced issues of development of the region, digital services, etc. And what's the framework of the digital transition? I believe that there has to be a common consideration, common vision, and a common perception. Creation, as we said, of high digital technology, building facilities, creation of telecommunication infrastructure of ultra-high velocities, creation of a network of scientists and enterprises, and attracting the public sector to research and innovation. And when we talk about attracting the private sector, I refer to a healthy collaboration. Can we achieve this? Yes, we can. The requirements are the ones existing. We have the good geographical position of the city and the high status of University of Ioannina. We have research and innovation structures. We have the establishment of multinational companies such as P&I and Team Newer, attracting new investors. There is a private investment funding to technology, and of course, a targeted funding of the region of Epirus for research and development. All together, we can, the University of Ioannina, the technological part, the region of Epirus, we can create such a reality from which everyone will be benefited. And this can be achieved with a collaboration between the university, the society, the state. I believe that neither the university nor the region on their own can render Ioannina a hub of digital policy. We need a multidisciplinary synergy, and we can achieve this all together. And a proposal before closing. The regional governor is not here, but to hear this, but I believe it would be good to invent the digital future of Epirus and create a council of digital transform of Epirus that will be called Digital Epirus 2023. Thank you very much for your participation.
Και μετά από τα τόσα έτσι ενεργειακά, τεχνοκρατικά,
After all this energy, digital, we will seek convergence and we'll see how history and archaeology can become a lever for the development of Epirus. From the Board of Administration of the University of Ioannina, Mr. Christos Stavrakos. Dear colleague, thank you very much for this invitation. It is the first time that a newly elected board is all, the members are all together in an event. Now, after things that about the microbes, the microbiome that can be good and bad for us and interact with other things, and sometimes terminology, for example, digital clouds that contain a lot of information. All this technological stuff will come to another field, which I'm very interested in even before being elected in the board of administration. When I came to Ioannina, I was impressed by the wealth of its monuments. It has a continuous presence from the Neolithic era. We come to the classic era, Dodoni and Nicopoli, then the Byzantine era with the islet of Ioannina, which is one of the three important centers of post-Byzantine period. In the Turkish occupation period, when we talk about an important artistic and cultural movement, we mean Meteora and the islet of Ioannina. And I read an interview by Mrs. Eleni Glikatsiarveler, who said that the murals of the San Nicolaus Church on the island is a kind of early Greek Renaissance. And I'm thinking how to use all of it, how to insert it in a modern scale, in a modern framework, and present proposals that will be attractive and persuasive enough to get funded for our research. An important question, what I already mentioned, may contribute to the development of tourism, to attracting many visitors in Epirus. But tourism is not only tourism for getting sun, but it is also the religious tourism and congress tourism, etc., more targeted. And we want to develop material for these types of tourism, environmental tourism, with or without scientific research, because when you want to present to the general public our material, material produced by historians and archaeologists, it must be comprehensible. The same applies to the other sciences, but in our case, much more, because you must ignite the interest, and after that, you must make them come to Epirus and visit the monuments and spend money here. And how can we connect it with research, and how can we make our students get interested in this part and with their own ideas to continue and advance this idea? Because I discovered that sometimes I'm out of ideas, and it is my students that help me with stimuli. And the third more important thing is how to include in this effort the general population of Ioannina, of Ioannina and of Epirus. People in Epirus are more interested in their monuments. And here I can see the director of the F48 of Antiquities, Mrs. Papadopoulou, Varvara, with an excellent conservation work and presentation work of these monuments. How can we include all this? The local population is very interested in the monuments. And since the previous colleagues talked mainly about urban centers, we are interested in going away from urban centers. The materials we deal with and we are presenting is a material that is far away from the urban centers. And it has the additional value to be found in areas of exceptional natural beauty. Epirus has a variety of territorial variety with special beauty, special landscapes in the mountains, semi-mountainous areas, and places at sea. And then we thought about the educational tools. What is important, and we have discovered, is that we cannot go on alone. And we always asked for the help and cooperation with the Information Technology Department and the Department of Building Materials. So we could show that despite the fact that we deal with the past, we do understand modern technology and realities. What I'm presenting here are added values. All this may contribute to the better implementation of all of this, and Epirus is rich in all of this, especially with the new road network and the renovation works in our airports. Let us come to a personal experience. Back in the past, when I wanted to study Byzantine and post-Byzantine inscriptions of Epirus, I tried to convince our funders, our sponsors, that our research is connected with the environment of Epirus and that it would constitute a basis upon which on which next the following researches can be based. So we obtained an excellence project, how archaeology can contribute to the economic development of remote areas of Epirus. So after collecting all Byzantine and post-Byzantine inscriptions of Epirus, both published and unpublished, we chose areas far away from the urban centers and areas of natural beauty. One of these areas is Matsuki, 1,800 above sea level, meters above sea level, after Pramada, with the Vilisa monastery. Many local people are interested in this monument, and we could better approach it because they held a conference for the presentation of this monument. So we created material in Greek and in English about the monument, its position in the environment, its location, and based on Matsuki, the other areas of interest, other points of interest around this monastery to be approached by various means, by bicycle or on foot, etc. And we also try to connect it with new food experiences. In the village gave us recipes, and we also included recipes in Greek and English. I don't remember all details, but we also had created a catalog of a list of doctors or of health centers where one should address themselves in case of an accident or a health problem. So we created a database with the inscriptions found in Epirus. A second project came afterwards, the so-called Visarion, cooperation of the Department of Archaeology, Information Technology, and the effort of Antiquities of Art. It is still underway. I don't want to go into scientific details, but the gist is that we analyze and we try to give answers to some important desiderata, questions of the science that are still without reply. One of these are the letters of the inscriptions. If we can use the letters of the inscription and the abbreviations as a means to recognize artists, that is, painters who worked in these monuments, and to date, because most of these monuments are undated, so they try to date them using a stylistic criteria. So we came up with the idea to use the letters for the dating of these monuments. With the help of Mr. Christoforos Nikos, our colleagues created a program where we choose the whole text, then we choose specific words. All this is inserted into a big database, and after choosing all words, finally, we use the letters one by one. That gave us the possibility to create a database and categorize the letters according to the centuries and the artists. Sustainable development within this program and using these programs, we give the possibility to the automatic reading of the inscriptions, and we do it for the tourists. With an application on their mobile phones, the tourist will be able to read the inscription without making a very strong effort. And the translation for foreign visitors into English. So we try to create the product, to make the product, which is called the Pyrrhus, more attractive. Here is the image of an inscription after its processing. Based on the program, on the project we started with the inscriptions of Dilica, we had approved a program from a German institute, a team of German and Greek students with joint courses in Germany and in Greece. Many people came here and stayed in the monastery of Dilica, and the product was a tourist guide in Greek and in German on the monastery of Dilica of Matsuki, which has very important murals and Byzantine and post-Byzantine manuscripts. I don't want to torture you any longer. I'm just give you an idea of how we try to work with it. So, I lost the last slide, which was called Ευχαριστώ. Thank you. Thank you. I hope that I haven't tired you a lot.
Now, thank you so much. We have come to the end of our presentations. I know that we have bombarded you with our presentations, and we haven't given the floor to you, the audience. So let's see for the next 3-5 minutes if there are any questions, and afterwards we can discuss everything during dinner. Would you like to say a few words? The university needs to have contact with the society. In the archaeological service, we want to cooperate with the university. So I wish all the best and a great future. I would like to congratulate you all indeed. Mrs. Papadopoulou, on behalf of all the members of the board, allow me to express our gratitude and our sincere thanks. Mrs. Deputy Governor, would you like to say something? Unfortunately, the microphone is not used, so we cannot translate. Okay.
Ζουν σε ένα πιο βιώσιμο και πιο ανθρώπινο περιβάλλον, αλλά κυρίως αυτό που με εντυπωσίασε είναι το...
What has really impressed me is the material you have produced, and of course I'm very, very proud that the Department of Preschool Education was a pioneer in all this effort. I saw that this material is really remarkable, and I'm sure that it will be embraced by our schools. Thank you so much for everything. We also have Mr. Zographou here with us, another member of our board, who didn't want to give a presentation because he said, I am a mathematician and a statistician, and it wouldn't be possible to avoid figures and statistical data. But would you like to say a few words now? First of all, I would like to warmly thank you for all the hard work you have carried out. During these 3 hours here, we realized the highly substantial work you have carried out, and I wish you all the best to go on with your efforts. And also I would like to point out that in research and in real life, things are not one-dimensional. What is needed and is imperative is synergies, goodwill, willingness to cooperate, so that the civil society and science, hand by hand, can work together. I'm glad that I saw you cooperating from different sectors, from different departments. And of course, as an academic and mathematician, the gentleman is speaking off the mic. I'm afraid the interpreters cannot hear him to translate him.
Διδάσκεις χρόνια, διδάσκεις χρόνια. Διδάσκεις χρόνια.
You have been teaching for many, many years. You have been carrying out statistical research for many, many years. Statistics can play a major role and contribute to the success of your efforts.
Στο επόμενο. Στο επόμενο.
Θα σε ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Θερμά συγχαρητήρια.
Ωραία, ωραία.
Thank you so much. And congratulations. Mayor, would you like to say a few words? No. Okay, let us go for dinner, and we can always talk during dinner. Thank you very much.